I was interviewing Cat Williams earlier. Her presentation today is called Other Starvations, and Cat took me aback a bit. Because when I asked her what the good people of Laramie needed to know about her, she said, "I like to fight. Fight with words, fight with fists." She's even come out on top in an organized boxing match at the Cowboy Saloon. So, yeah, she's tough. So I wasn't expecting her to say fight, so I asked her what this drive to fight tells us about her. And she said, "Well, I guess I think a lot of things are worth fighting about," which is true. So good for you, Cat. Cat also revealed that she likes dogs more than she likes humans because they're a place where she can project human fears and desires without the dogs judging. Cat's biggest fear in the world? Loneliness. And the thing that she's most confident she can handle? "I've always been confident," she says, "that if I'm 100% broke, I wouldn't die from being broke." So let's get the resourceful Cat Williams up here and welcome her for Other Starvations.
On a school bus headed to a marsh where I would catch a crawdad and try to take him home as a pet, I shifted my gaze from my classmates' thighs to my own. I stared down at them, flattened out on the dusty faux leather seats, and measured the distance from the outside of one leg to the other with my fingers. I remember thinking, if I were a boy, I would be the biggest one here. For years, I wore nothing but crewneck Hanes tees that came in packs of 3s and Nike basketball shorts. I wanted to own every color of shorts the JCPenney boys section sold. All of my elementary school pictures feature a girl with different lengths of blonde hair, expressions conveying different levels of aloofness, clad in the same black t-shirt. Yet at my babysitter's house, I loved to play dress up. My favorite outfit was a sheaf of densely sequined red fabric that I threw across my shoulder and paired with matching red heels, much like Dorothy's ruby slippers. We were allowed to put on makeup just for dress-up sessions, and I painted my pale little face with black eyeliner and Pepto pink blush. I stomped around and fell over every few steps. My babysitter said, "You'll get it eventually, just practice." When I looked in the mirror, I couldn't stop smiling. For the first day of middle school, I wanted to buy girl clothes. That's how I described the fitted graphic tee and flared khakis to my mom when I asked her to take me to the mall. The outfit felt okay in the dressing room, but when I got on the bus, stepped off it, and tried to go to my first period class, I stopped breathing. I hated the way the shirt clung to me, the curves that appeared out of nowhere. I cried in the girls' bathroom until I could brave the hallway to the nurse's office. I went home sick that first day of school. And I wasn't faking. I did feel like I was going to throw up, or like I wanted to. I got my period at 15, but my boobs started growing way before that. Sports bras at least one size too small were my saving grace. I wasn't aware that bras shouldn't make you out of breath until my cross-country coach noticed that I would pull the band away from my body as I slowed to a jog during interval training, clawing for a little extra space in which my rib cage could expand. Back then, I had never heard of a chest binder. I also thought my bra size was medium until an employee at Victoria's Secret shamed me for my ignorance. She pulled a measuring tape, taut, and announced 36B. I had hoped the letter would be further into the alphabet, as if the cup size needed to reflect the volume of frustration and confusion my breasts had caused me. And when my high school boyfriend touched them, I felt like they weren't really a part of my body at all, like no part of my body was mine, like it never was and never would be. The only framework I had for these feelings was a mainstream conception of queerness, of lesbianism. I read books and Googled keywords and wound up wondering if I was trans, if I wanted not just to be perceived as a boy, but to be one, whatever that means. I suppose I should mention that throughout all this gender turmoil, what I wanted most in the world was far simpler: to be thin, to be even thinner. Eventually, I spent 6 weeks in the hospital, in treatment for a disease I ignored for years. During those 6 weeks, only one man was admitted to the eating disorder wing. He didn't talk much and tried to sleep through most group activities, and I didn't blame him for that. In a particularly uninspired exercise, a therapist brandished an ad from a fashion magazine. The figure on the cover, angular, her sharp elbows carving the air around her into delicate strips. The therapist asked, "How is your ideal body informed by this image?" She and the other patients seemed to forget the man was there, but I kept looking over at him, wondering if he was thinking anything like I was thinking, that the appeal was in the model's androgyny, the enticing masculinity of her tailored suit, a thin black tie hanging away from her chest to emphasize the expanse of flatness beneath. She was my ideal in that she had the opportunity to shift the viewer's perception of her gender in a way that my own body, in its healthy and natural state, would never allow. I later turned to weightlifting and bodybuilding for the endorphin rush that running, abuse, and vomiting once gave me. My body has changed noticeably since high school, since college, and since my hospitalization. I now have wider shoulders and visible biceps. Over Christmas, my mom asked if I do exercises specifically to thicken my neck. I treasure these side effects, though, how they have tipped strangers' perceptions of me toward the masculine, toward the male. But I still spend a lot of time wishing that I didn't have breasts. I bind them to create the illusion of flat-chestedness, but I know that they're there all the same. Breasts are not merely made of fat, but fat is a factor in their size and shape. I think it will always be hard for me not to conflate losing fat with gaining masculinity. And it's difficult to subvert or even just avoid the dominant cultural narratives that inform identity. I'm sure I've enforced some of these dominant narratives in the few short minutes I've been up here, but if I'm to find some kind of moral in this story, which I hate morals, by the way, in stories, it's that when I feel trapped inside of gender, when my body or my mind or both don't feel quite right, I think of those red sequins and high heels, how freeing it felt to plaster my face with cosmetics and ask people to call me Juliet. And I'm reminded that sometimes playing pretend is the best way to escape the pressure of being yourself, especially when you don't know for sure who or what yourself is. Thanks.